Let's move on to another headline, and this is as we wrap up our news review this morning, and that has to do... Oh, incidentally, there's a very interesting headline on page 3. Judge now throws out Kilimani Mom case. It's a very interesting read, and it's about Facebook and how people relate in Facebook groups, and now it is turning out to be a marital issue, and it's already before the courts, and it's on page 3 of the Standard. It makes for a very good read. Please go and read it. Judge now throws out Kilimani Mom case. Let's take a look at what features on the front page of the Daily Nation. Military put to task over 1.5 billion shilling junk fighter jets. Just recently I saw, I think it was a bill in Parliament seeking to have the kind of budgetary allocations to the military and the NIS to be opened up so that they actually itemize how they spend their money. Whether or not that will happen remains to be seen. But probably this is the reason why. Probably that kind of push is there. That Kenya bought 7 fighter jets from Jordan in 2007 that were later found to be defective and are now being used as sources of spare parts. This is according to the Auditor General. That story continues there, and it's also on the Standard. I'm looking for it in the inside pages of the Standard. Well, I can't find it, but it is there on the Standard as well. Do you think it is necessary to actually check how the military, how the NIS is spending money? It has its own implications. You've been in government. Is it even possible to start checking how the military spends its money?
Well, I think there are some issues which can be done in camera, and Parliament is allowed to do that. And the auditor is also allowed to do some of these issues, and that's why they are bringing some of these glaring errors. Anybody saying that things should be done, what we cannot do, or what members of Parliament cannot do, is the operational details of what happens within the military. But when it comes to issues of purchase and other issues, members of Parliament can do it in camera, and that is allowed, just to ascertain the facts as raised by the Controller and Auditor General. The normal procedure is that in government, whenever you do an expenditure, you are supposed to account. There is the internal auditor who is supposed to advise you that this is not in order. Then anything that goes beyond the internal auditor, he is going to make his recommendations. And an issue is raised with the department by the Controller and Auditor General. It is when you don't give sufficient explanation that it gets now to the public domain. But many issues, if they are able to resolve within that kind of level, you will not need to see it here. It means some of these issues were not resolved.
Yes, it is rare to see a procurement process, whatever the military does. It rarely makes for headlines that they bought this, they bought the other. We only see new vehicles on Jamhuri Day and new airplane. But looking at this issue, of course, no president or no executive, I'm talking about the arms of government, wants to be seen to touch the military. It has its own implications. Even such, because now we're looking at Jubilee and it has a majority in Parliament already, do you think the executive would allow its Jubilee members in Parliament to actually push through with this?
Military spending across the world is a very sensitive issue because, number one, even how you purchase those weapons are a matter of international speculation. They define your alliances. If you buy them from China versus the United States, it is a big issue. It's not something that you want to be speculated upon endlessly within the public domain.
It's also something you want on the front pages of the dailies.
Exactly. And therefore, you know, when you see that we bought them from Jordan, the questions begin to abound. Why Jordan? Why not Australia? Why not Israel? Why not America? And already when you open that, you open a Pandora's box, because then you ask yourself, okay, if there are, how many planes are those? 150?
There are only 7.
7 planes. 7 planes, 1.5 billion. The 7 planes less. So how many planes does Kenya have? You know, it exposes you so badly as a nation in terms of your security. And this is how the United States do it, which I think Kenyans need to borrow. You have a special committee on security that is able to do what the Honorable Kipruto is saying, is they're able to talk these issues in camera, away from the public glare, where they're able to provide oversight in this issue. Now, this kind of oversight should not be oversight that is exclusive to Jubilee. That will be a big mistake. It has to be a bipartisan oversight where members of parliament from NASA are involved in making sure that the oversight over the parliament, over the military, comes from parliament and senate. And they need to sign the oaths of secrecy and things like that so that they can give Kenyans a sense of surety of this process. How did it happen? Was it correct? Were we forced into a deal? Were they donated by the Jordanians? Were we given at 100% discount? There's so many intrigues behind how you procure these things, and what we need is a body within parliament and or senate that we can trust to be able to handle this on our behalf.
Now that you both appear in agreement that this should not be a matter for the front pages of the dailies.
Absolutely.
Do you think that even for journalists we should be sensitive in writing such stories that when it comes to military spending and issues to do with Kenya's security, that probably you should not be so quick to write about these stories and put them on the headlines?
But I think the journalist is just picking information from credible source. This is from Controller and Auditor General, which means it has already got some credence. And journalists, they are doing their own, they are doing their role by ensuring that the public knows there is a problem. But the foundation of all this is that there was a lapse somewhere. Otherwise, the committee, there is a committee in Parliament that deals with issues of security.
They should not allow it to leak into the...
yeah, they should have been able to finish that issue at that particular level, but without covering. Because at the end of the day, as a taxpayer, I need to know whether my penny is being accounted for.
In fact, my issue with that article is very simple. Why are you mentioning the number of planes? Why are you mentioning where they are from? You see, those are sensitive issues. You know, you can write and say several planes that were bought from the Jordanian, from the Arabian Peninsula are not working, you know, so that we do not have specifics. Because when you tell me planes from Jordan, I will Google, I will know exactly, and then you go and say they're being used for spare parts. So I know what kind of planes our army has. You've just given me so much information that is useful to our enemies. However, you can give the same information, provide oversight without being detailed. For example, if you say we bought them from Arabia, there are so many countries in Arabia we could have bought them from. If you say that they cost a certain amount of money without saying how many planes there are, we would still have the facts, because that tells me that in 2007, when I look at the budget, because I can find that that was spent on the military, I can tell how many planes Kenya has. And those are some of the things that should not be obvious to the public, not because we want to keep things from the public, but because we want to keep our country safe.
Okay.
Yes.
So even the media should be a bit sensitive.
Yes. No, but I thank God Mark is not in government. He would be covering too many things.
It's not covering.
No, but because these journalists just pick the information from Controller and Auditor General, and the information includes where they were bought. And you see, a journalist does not want to report half-truth. He wants to say everything.
Half-truth.
Yes.
The truth is it was bought in the Arab Peninsula. That is true.
Yes.
They bought several
Now
planes.
you're becoming an editor.
Well, I do share slightly your concerns, the fact that by splashing such a story on the front pages, this is accessible to so many more people, not just the Auditor General or the Committee of Parliament, which is concerned. But, well, it is a matter of debate. Thank you so much, Kipruto Rapkirwa, Deputy Party Leader, and C. Mark Richachi, Analyst. Ladies and gentlemen, Power Breakfast still continues. Remember, Dr. Wale Akinyemi will be in studio discussing inspirational issues as well. My name is Freddie Ndimuli, leaving this segment, but before